You want to know why Bush isn't at the campaign? They hate each other. McCain and Bush hate each other. They're delighted not to be, Bush is delighted not to be there because he doesn't want to help him, and McCain is delighted not to have Bush there.
Let me just,
So,
I want to just say one quick thing.
having been too much of an independent, too much of a rebel.
I think that what you just said kind of clarifies for me a necessary distinction here between what has been standard practice between the parties for a very long time. Because your examples are all exceptional. I think they're absolutely right. But what has been happening since 2000 is not the same thing. Because you can't really think of an example of a Republican candidate or the Republican Party ever deciding to take a dive or to take a loss for the sake of the totality, for this whole game to continue to be played.
Well, I think that happened in Connecticut, though. I do think they took a dive in Lamont, Lieberman,
When it comes to
Schlesinger
when it
campaign.
comes to people like DeLay, when it comes to Bush Republicans, what you see time and time and time again since 2000 is the Democrats being the ones who tell their candidates to throw in the towel. The guy in Connecticut, there was no chance that he was even close to winning. So that's not a serviceable example.
Yeah,
but there are at least 20 people in 2006, Democrats only, who were told, give it up, give it up. Kerry told me personally that he thought that the 2004 election was stolen. He told me this to my face. And then I told the story on Democracy Now! A week later, and of course people flipped out, it was all over the internet, and within 3 hours his office categorically denied we'd ever have the conversation. What I'm suggesting is, see, collusion is one model, and the parties have indeed been in collusion, there's no question about it. But what is happening now, I think, is that one of the two parties, which bears no resemblance to the Republican Party under Nixon, is much closer to fascism than it is to conservatism, and will do anything to destroy the opposition, and will do anything to push its agenda across. And to that end, it has not just engaged in old-fashioned vote suppression like with the felons list, but they have engaged in machine fraud, they have altered outcomes. I don't think the last few elections were really close at all. They did it to Don Siegelman in Alabama, they did it to Max Cleland in Georgia, they do it time and time and time again. Now I do think that the Democrats tell themselves that they're in collusion. They say, hey, you know, we can't make waves. Our time, you know, your time will come next time, just be quiet. You know, I think that Gore and Kerry and all these guys tell themselves that's what they're doing. But my experience has been that they can't face what's really happening, that they're too scared, because they can't actually, you know, first of all, they don't believe in democracy at all, right? Al Gore said if we're going to have, I mean, if we're going to fix the problem of 2000, we'd have to have a revolution in this country. He was kidding. That would never happen. So I'm simply saying that I think, I don't mean to hijack this discussion, but I think that something new has entered the equation. That's all I'm saying.
We have another question now.
Yeah, so at points, the question of journalism has come up, and I was wondering, you know, with the increasing media ownership and this vast sort of, I guess it's called the echo chamber, how is it possible for independent journalists such as yourself or others to sort of make themselves heard and be taken seriously in the sense that, you know, if 98% of people on radio, TV, so on are telling you that this person is crazy, how are people supposed to find out that, you know, they're not and they're telling the truth?
Well, it takes a lot of extra work. That's, you know, I'm not comparing myself to a politician, but it's, my task is similar to that of an insurgent politician. I've got to go up against the big media and try to work the system to get attention, free publicity, free airtime. You know, it's a lot of very complicated guerrilla tactics, and you also have to be willing to speak to small audiences. You have to embrace Amy Goodman. I was on her show the other day, and there she was arrested in St. Paul the other day. I'm happy to be associated with Amy Goodman. I think she's the real thing. She's not, but a mainstream media person would say, oh, she's shrill, she's crazy, she's left-wing, whatever. You have to think about who you're willing to be seen with, and what sort of risks you're willing to take. But the main consequences of so it takes a lot of guerrilla tactics, and I don't mean violence. I just mean looking for the openings where you can find them and exploiting them. But in answer to just in response to Mark's comments, I do not think the Democrats are scared. This is where we would disagree. If you talk to somebody like Rahm Emanuel, he is not a frightened individual. If you talk to Chuck Schumer, he is not a frightened individual. These guys think they own the country. They think they have special rights that none of us are entitled to. And they're much friendlier with the Republicans than they are with us. I don't want, you could look in my NAFTA book if you want to see more on Rahm Emanuel, but this is a guy who organized the passage of NAFTA, or was one of the key people on behalf of the Clintons, and he did it in close cooperation with Newt Gingrich. I mean, they were in lockstep. They organized it together to get it through Congress. This is a guy who, when he thought that the anti-war primary candidates were too anti-war, he slated less anti-war candidates, this is in the 2006 campaign, to block them.
Right.
I mean, this is not a guy who's afraid, and he's got the full backing of the Cook County Democratic machine. So, oh yeah,
This will have
Yeah,
to be
sorry.
our last question.
After he left the Clinton White House, he got a job working for Goldman Sachs, and he negotiated the merger of PECO, Pennsylvania Electric Company, and Commonwealth Edison to create Exelon, the biggest nuclear utility, benefiting from the whole deregulatory agenda that manifested during the 90s at the federal and national state levels. And he said, well, I need to make some money for my family. He got $12 million for that deal. And we've got bigger utilities and pushing nuclear. Another example of his obeisance to corporate interests, unfortunately.
well, he likes money. Politicians like money, but they like power more than they like money. And if they're forced to choose, 9 out of 10 politicians will choose power over money. It's much easier to make money in America than it is to achieve political power within the Republican or Democratic Party. That takes real work and real loyalty. And they let Rahm Emanuel take a vacation before he came back into power. And now he's probably the second most powerful politician in the United. If Obama wins, Rahm Emanuel will be the second most powerful politician in the United States.
Thank you all for coming.